Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Donkey Kong Country 3. In the last part, we got 100% and now we're just gonna go watch the ending credits, honestly.
My word, they seem to be very excited. It looks as if they want to take you for a ride. Go on, Kongs, don't worry about your boat. I'll get Cranky to fetch it for you.
Once you've gone into any of Wrinkly's save caves after getting the last banana bird, off to the hidden ending you go. Even though, frankly, this looks like it'd be a terrifying way to go see anyone. You did it! You did it! You found all of my children. At last I can be freed from K.Roole's spell. Ready, children? Sing along with me! Couldn't you have just walked around that? Oh, I'm so happy that we're all family again. And it's all thanks to you, Kongs. Now, as I promised, it's time to fulfill my half of the bargain and teach K.Rool a lesson he'll never forget. So, in what regard does this consider him completely defeated? He's just now an egg. He can get out of that. He will very easily get out of that, given that 64 is a direct sequel to this. I guess this just... maybe he's allergic to eggs? I guess. Bit weird that an alligator would, because I think in some regard eggs are some form of their diet. Or is that just snakes? That might be snakes. And certain other birds. This ending sequence doesn't end until you've seen Cranky do some tricks in the background. From there, though, we're going to be going back to the credits that initially play after you beat Baron K.Roolenstien at Chaos Core. And, let me put it like this. I believe that starts at about the 3.5 minute mark-ish, maybe 3:40-ish. The rest of this video is just the credits. Because... overkill, I guess. A lot of people did work on this game, admittedly, and I've been putting forth a bit of a misnomer accidentally throughout. I've said this is a Rareware game, and it is, but the main Rareware team that worked on DKC 1 and 2 weren't completely involved in this. This was a lot of new devs at Rareware's first game, so in some regards that explains why DKC 3 feels so different. And we also get a very long-winded cast call for the game, showing all the enemy sprites, their names, same with the Kongs and the Brothers Bear. It takes a while because we see one at a time by and large. DKC 3 is a good game. I will not pretend it's not. It is. But if I had to say it's the worst DKC game, I'd say that's pretty accurate. It does some cool stuff. I like the overworld. I like the boat system, allowing for the individual worlds to feel like you're more advancing through them rather than just going through a map screen. I like some of the hidden abilities, and I like most of the new animal buddies. My problem with the game comes down to its levels. As well, individually they're good. I feel on the whole this game is the start of Rareware becoming what they would on the N64. Wherein they like to get really cute with what they want you to do to get everything. Between not only the banana birds, I'm talking just pure level mechanics, some of the stuff they make you do between reversing your controls, zero gravity, on top of things like, here's a level where you just control this one barrel type that's only visible here. it feels like they really started doing that. Here's this neat mechanic we'll only maybe use once or twice here. And they would keep on doing that moving forward into the N64 era quite often. Like, that's half of what Conker's Bad Fur Day is, really. And a lot of what Banjo-Tooie is. Kazooie to an extent as well, but I like that game unlike Banjo-Tooie. More on that when I eventually reach those games. And it's not to say that it doesn't work. In some cases it does. Like, I'm a Mega Man fan, and Mega Man stages usually have the level per level mechanic set and enemy set. But to draw the Mega Man comparison I've done several times this LP, when a Mega Man stage explores its gimmicks, it pushes it to usually either its logical extreme or a step below, because one of the final levels will revisit that mechanic in some regard. Here, some of the mechanics don't get enough time to really breathe, outside maybe the animal buddies and the rope climbing. And because of that, the game feels like it needed a lot more time to cook. I think one of the best instances of that is stuff like Kitty being able to jump off of water 3 times. Like, that's only mentioned in the manual, and it's only used in 2 levels, I think, from memory. One of the early levels, and then the level with the race in Crumwood Forest. That's really the only times it gets used. When you could argue that would make him a lot more stand up from the other Kongs and give him a purpose besides just being the Donkey Kong for the game. DKC3 feels, I don't want to say lost, but it feels like it's grasping to make its own identity rather than just relying on its mechanics to do so, if that makes any sense at all. It's not a bad game, but if I had to play a DKC game, I'm not going to this one. I'm going to DKC2 more often than not, sometimes DKC1 for the nostalgia, because that's the one I played growing up a lot. There's still cool stuff here. I think graphically it's super impressive for the Super Nintendo. I think it's got some pretty good music, especially in the GBA version. Which, the GBA version is a whole another can of worms with the changes it throws in. But not only between the soundtrack and stuff, and through the extra world and boss fight, the amount of actual changes, I think, number pretty high. Let me take a look at the differences lists on, I think that's in... is that in the Mario Wiki? Yeah, there's a whole, like, half-page long stint on the Mario Wiki page for this game. That's just the differences. And in some regards, that could make the GBA version the version worth approaching nowadays. I'd approach that with some form of caution, because the color palette's really washed out looking now, unless using, like, alpha correction filters on certain emulators. Because I don't think that's the version that's available on Wii U Virtual Console, assuming it even is. If you're going to play this nowadays, you're probably going to end up playing the Super Nintendo version. I'm not going to say you're better for it, but I do think it's the more approachable version in several regards. Hell, the Super Nintendo controller having more buttons they actively use helps with that, because some of the things I really don't like about SNES ports to GBA, and I brought this up earlier, is the button crunch is arguably worse than the screen crunch. Thankfully, if you want to play this, it's pretty easy to get nowadays, as long as you have a Switch and pay for the Switch Online stuff. Because it's on the Super Nintendo Online. I think all 3 DKC games are. With that said, in my eyes, that's the only thing you should pay for with Nintendo Switch Online. Didn't really talk about it at all. In fact, there's seldom at this point I can bring this up until I eventually maybe get to an N64 game that's on it. That N64 Genesis expansion pass for the Switch Online is not really worth it in my eyes. Like, they jacked that price up way too much just to add in 2 emulators with very few games at this point, and Animal Crossing DLC that you can technically use the Switch Online thing to rent, or you could just buy it separately if you're an Animal Crossing fan, which I figured you probably would anyway. Do I think DKC went out on a good note for the Super Nintendo? Yes. But it could have been better. By and large, I'd say Donkey Kong's next peak is, which was the bongo game that was an actual platform? Was that Jungle Beat? I think that was Jungle Beat. That was probably the next platforming peak to me, because I think that game's real neat. And after that, we probably wouldn't get another good peak for Donkey Kong until... Well, both Returns games are good, but Tropical Freeze, from what I can tell, is definitely the next best game in a lot of regards. there are better things to do with your time if you're a Donkey Kong fan, like playing Donkey Kong Country 2 or Donkey Kong 94, I think it was on Game Boy, the one that was sort of a precursor to Mario vs. Donkey Kong, that in some ways actually like predates a lot of Mario 64 stuff. And I think it was Donkey Kong 91, I think, because I think it came out before Country, but it was the first game that gave Donkey Kong chronologically the red tie. Oh, so now you start showing two things at once. All right, that's a little rude. I figured you could have started doing that earlier. From what I'm aware, though, this game does have something really interesting in that it has apparently a really fun speedrun to watch. And all three DKCs do, from what I can tell. It's just that I don't actively approach them because if I'm going to watch a speedrun, I'm not going to watch a Donkey Kong one, if that makes sense. Maybe a Tropical Freeze, maybe. But by and large, there are other platformers I go to for that stuff. God, we're not even at the real credits yet. We're still in the cast call. I think another part that makes the cast call really hurt is not only how slow every entry goes, but the fact it's this one very short musical loop over and over again. And short musical loops can work for credits. Like, from memory, Castlevania 4's credits theme is really short, but it's a good song. Admittedly, we got a lot of really long credit sequences at scatter points over gaming. Like Mario World, I love it, but its credit sequence is surprisingly long for how that game is. Whereas some RPGs, I feel, could stretch out the credits a little longer for the music theme they're playing. I always kind of felt bad that Cranky was downgraded in this game to just being a minigame guy. Like, he doesn't even get much of a chance to do his usual snark that was kind of admittedly endearing in the first couple games. Also, if memory serves, this is the last appearance of Kiddy Kong. He was not very popular. I don't think he's in any of the future games from memory, unless it's like just a shout-out. It's been a bit since I played some of the later games, though. That would have completely destroyed your spine, and you're dead anyway. Can we go on to the actual credits now? Okay, thank God. We're almost there. And also, this is just reused stuff from the intro, yeah, but hey, it's a nice way to show the credits off. If I recall, this is also one of the only other effects that uses the Super FX chip in the game, because I don't think that's mode 7 there with the spiraling music box. It's one of the few games on the SNES that used the Super FX chip, which I believe by default made it a more expensive SNES game. Because what else used this? Both Star Fox games did. The only one that was released. Doom did, I think. Some dirt racing games did, I think. And I think my brother had one of those. I think it was Stunt Race FX. Yeah, I'm looking at the box art. That's definitely the one my brother had. We didn't have any of the Dirt Tracks games otherwise. What the hell is Winter Gold and Vortex? I don't recognize those by name. Well, Winter Gold looks like Star Fox, so you know what? It's probably simple, but it's probably alright. Vortex. Oh, wait, I've seen gameplay of this. That's a pretty out there Super Nintendo game. Doesn't really work too well, but it looks for a Genesis game, Super Nintendo game. It's actually one thing I was always kind of impressed by. When it came to like doing 3D on the 16-bit consoles, not many games did it on the Genesis, but like that one racing game that Sega themselves put out ran miles better than any game that used the Super FX chip. Like in some regards, the Genesis could do things the SNES couldn't, but the SNES was definitely the more capable system internally. Whether or not developers could use that to a good effect depended, honestly. But yeah, once you finish the credits, you are given your final rating. Sort of. I already showed what the final rating I got was back when we beat K.A.O.S at Chaos Core and Baron K.Roolenstien. The rating we're about to see shows up after you see the true ending we got 10 minutes ago. Again, there are 2% higher you can get than this, 104 and 105 for beating the hardest and or toughest difficulties individually, but it doesn't change anything besides the active difficulty, so to me it's not really worth going after. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, have a great night, take care, and I'll see you guys next Let's Play, whatever that may be. See you guys then.